Balthazaar. Greetings, my dear viewers. It's I, Drayhon, and welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons Character Conversion, part of the Warriors of Ravenloft series. We are on the 4th human villain of this video game, and the final human villain. So don't worry, we'll finally get into the monstrous races here in the next couple of weeks with the last 4 villains. Today we are looking at Balthazaar, a headsman, also classified as an executioner. That's right, we finally get to cover an executioner. I have never actually built an executioner in my past videos. Sure, there have been assassins, but never an executioner. Someone who deals with these criminals in their final moments. But, Balthazaar here is a little too into his job. So let's go ahead and get straight into his backstory. Balthazaar decided to join the Executioners Guild, the Headsman's Guild, and he barely got in. This is because the other guild members were a little worried about his enthusiasm, his zeal for his job. And it seems that this was very well warranted, because he not only took his job seriously, but like I said, with zeal. Now, according to the tenets of this guild, you had to kill the convict as quickly as possible. But Balthazaar didn't do that. Balthazaar took his time, torturing them before finally dealing the final blow. You know, chopping off their limbs and then the head. Stuff like that. It was very concerning, and soon the guild decided to kick Balthazaar out. This, understandably, made Balthazaar very upset. So, like any rational human, he strolled right back over to his guild and did the very inhuman thing and killed every single member of the guild. No guild to go back to if it doesn't exist in the first place. And now Balthazaar roams the lands, roams the mists, in search of new victims to slay. Interesting character. Kind of a basic slasher villain, but still a very nice character to try to create. So let's go ahead and jump right into that, going with the point-buy system for our stats. Strength is going to be a 15, Dexterity an 8, Constitution and Charisma are both a 14, with Intelligence and Wisdom both being a 10. Dexterity is our dump stat this time, because it states in the character description that while Balthazaar does not wear any armor, he is still so bulky that he is not agile in the slightest. So we need to keep that in mind for this character. We are not going to be touching that dexterity stat. For our race, we are going with the human variant once again. This will give us a +1 to our constitution and a +1 to our charisma. We get to be a size of medium, speed of 30 feet, languages in common and elven, just to do it. And we also get a skill and a feat. For our skill, I decided to go with athletics, with the feat of Brawny from the Unearthed Arcana. This is because not only does it give us a +1 to our strength, but we gain proficiency in athletics. But if we already have proficiency, we instead become an expert in athletics, which is why athletics is my chosen skill. So that means we automatically get expertise in athletics. He might not be agile, which is why we are not going for acrobatics, but he is strong, so athletics will actually work rather well. We should be able to jump over gaps with relative ease if we have to make those athletics checks. Or we can just rip a door straight off of its hinges with our meaty arms. He's an intimidating fellow, and one of the biggest characters in this video game franchise. Additionally, we get the ability to count ourselves as one size larger for the purposes of deterring our carrying capacity, which is perfect. He is a big dude, like I just said. Moving on to our background. This one was a little tricky because we don't really have an executioner background. I thought Cobalt Press had one, but when I went over my material for Cobalt Press, I could not find one. So I had to get creative. And what is an executioner but another form of entertainer? I mean, it was an entertainment event back in the medieval days. One of the grand things you can do is spend your time watching an execution of the most dastardly of criminals. So I decided to go with the background of the gladiator, a subcategory of entertainer. This will give us proficiency in acrobatics and performance, which I would switch that out for something different, probably intimidation, but we're probably getting that in a minute. We'll also get the proficiency in disguise kit and the musical instrument of choice. We also get the feature by popular demand. I mean, having an executioner is something that is in demand after all. Now for the class, and like I mentioned, Balthazaar did in fact break the oath of his guild by going against their tenants. And, that's just some interesting wording. So for this class, I decided to do a little creative liberties. I was originally going to go with either a Battlemaster Fighter or the Zealot Barbarian for the zeal that he had for his job. But due to this wording about going against the oath of the guild, and even going against the tenants, I thought it would be more fitting to make him a paladin. So as a paladin, you get a d10 hit die and starting hit points of 10 plus your constitution modifier, with additional hit points being 1d10 plus your constitution modifier per paladin level after the first. We'll get proficiencies in all armor and shields, simple and martial weapons, wisdom and charisma saving throws, and for our skills, we'll go ahead and grab intimidation and medicine. I probably would have gone with something else, but it never mentioned anything as far as religion for Balthazaar. Next is going to be our Divine Sense and Lay on Hands. Moving on to level 2 Paladin. We're going with the fighting style of the Unarmed Fighter. That comes from the Unearthed Arcana. Technically, we have a non-Unearthed Arcana version of Unarmed Fighting, but Paladins only got access to the Unearthed Arcana version. Now, why am I going with Unarmed Fighting instead of Great Weapon Fighting, since he has that gigantic axe? Well, as is standard for these characters, there is a slight quirk in the character design for Balthazaar. And for Balthazaar specifically, that is his axe. His axe has the same exact ability as a dancing sword. It's even called the Axe of Dancing in his character description. So, what better way to use that dancing axe than to grapple an opponent with your own arms while your axe is going after them on its own? They can't exactly get away from your axe, and you can easily relinquish your victim of a limb without much trouble. You also get spell casting using your charisma modifier, and you get access to Divine Smite. At level 3, we get access to our Divine Health, Harness Divine Power, and our Sacred Oath. When I was looking up ways to build an Executioner, it was actually recommended to use the Oath of Vengeance Paladin, as that's typically how they do things. They are basically getting vengeance against the wicked for the sake of the victims' families. However, due to Balthazaar's nature in his character description, I decided to go with a different sacred oath, the Oath of Conquest. This will give us access to the oath spells of Armor of Agathis and Command. We also get access to the channel divinity of Conquering Presence and Guided Strike. After all, we need to be able to strike our target and eventually relinquish them of their heads. We are a headsman after all. Gotta take those heads away from those nasty criminals. But I also wanted access to that Conquering Presence and the Aura ability that we're going to be getting later, the Aura of the Conqueror, which will frighten our target, and while frightened inside of our aura, the speed of our target is reduced to 0. So we knock them down, frighten them, and while they are prone, their speed is 0, so they have no way of standing back up. And if they have no way to move, well, we can just stroll right on over, take our giant axe, and bring it down on their heads. And they can do nothing but scream. You know, stereotypical torture and slasher material. Moving on to our next level, and that is level 4. Normally, we would get an ability score increase, but I decided to go with the Grappler feat. This gives us advantage on attack rolls against a creature we are grappling. And we can use an action to cause ourself and our grapple target to become restrained. So we restrain them, can't move, cause them to be frightened, speed drops to 0 even then. And then, just to top it all off, we can have our dancing axe fly around and then just start chopping them to bits while they are restrained and frightened. It's just too perfect for this character. Moving on, level 5, we get access to extra attack and 2 more oath spells. Hold Person and Spiritual Weapon. I mean, if we're out of uses of our channel divinity, we need to be able to still hold our target still. And what better way than to use Hold Person? And just for some extra flavor, have that spiritual weapon out as another flavorful way of having a dancing axe. Maybe you have one axe cut off the left arm, and have the other axe cut off the right arm, or maybe the right leg. Interesting thought for how this character might fight. Moving on to level 6, we get access to Aura of Protection. Level 7, we get that Aura of Conquest. And at level 8, we'll go ahead and get our ability score improvement, rounding off our Constitution and Charisma to a nice even 16. At level 9, we get our oath spells of Bestow, Curse, and Fear, just in case we run out of uses of our channel divinity. Moving on to level 10, we get access to our Aura of Courage. That way we ourselves cannot be frightened. At level 11, we get Improved Divine Smite. Level 12, we are finally going to get the feat of the Great Weapon Master. Take a -5 penalty to our attack roll, but an extra +10 to our attack's damage roll. And just for flair, thanks to our guided strike ability, we are technically just taking a +5 from it, since Great Weapon Master is going to take 5 away from our guided strikes +10 to that attack roll. On top of that, we will be getting advantage on our attacks thanks to the grappler feature. So all in all, it's just bonus on bonus. Moving on to level 13, the oath spells of Dominate Beast and Stone Skin are unlocked for us. At level 14, we get access to Cleansing Touch. Level 15, Scornful Rebuke. Level 16, go ahead and increase your strength by 2 more points. Level 17, we get access to the oath spells of Cloud Kill and Dominate Person. That paladin over there looks pretty strong. Why don't we have him do the finishing blow on this criminal we have restrained? Drive that sword into their chest. Or maybe the assassin can drive their dagger through the victim's gut. You know, something simple, something clean, just in case you don't feel like getting your own hands dirty today. Or maybe you could have the ranger sneak up behind the wizard and grapple them. You know, something like that. Use your opponents against each other. Could be interesting. Moving on to level 18, we get access to aura improvements. At level 19, I decided to go with the feat of Martial Adept, giving us access to Grappling Strike and Menacing Attack. More ways to grapple, more ways to frighten. And finally, at level 20, we get the Invincible Conqueror. And that might be the end of the build, but it is not the end of the video. Since we are a paladin, we do have access to spells. So here are the spells that I would recommend for Balthazaar. First level, we get access to Cure Wounds, Purify Food and Drink, Searing Smite, and Wrathful Smite. Second level, Find Steed, Lesser Restoration, and Locate Object. I went with Find Steed and not Find Greater Steed, as there were a couple spells that were better than Find Greater Steed, but also it made sense to just have a normal, average steed to use to pull criminals behind you and drag them through the dirt or rocky terrain, as that was a method of torture, a method of execution, if you will. Moving on to third level, we have Dispel Magic, Magic Circle, and Spirit Shroud. You never know, you might be going after somebody who has friends on the other side, so you want to make sure you have your Magic Circle active so no Celestials, Aberrations, Fiends, or Undead can willingly walk up to you to stop you. Next is your fourth level spells in Locate Creature and Staggering Smite. And finally, your fifth level spell, we decided to go for a Holy Weapon. Normally we wouldn't pick this spell, but I decided to go with it this time just to give us some extra damage on our weapon attacks. And if we needed to, we can just dismiss the spell to have a burst of light that blinds everyone within its radius. It's pretty useful. But anyway, what did you think of Balthazaar, the Executioner? Let me know in the comment section down below. And until next time, this has been Drehon, and I am offline.